Before we dive into this forbidden knowledge that has been systematically suppressed for centuries, I need to ask you something. What time is it where you're watching from right now? And where exactly in the world are you? I'm asking because the timing of when you're receiving this information isn't coincidental. There are no accidents in the universe, and the fact that you're here, right now, listening to these words that have been banned from mainstream education, hidden from religious institutions, and deliberately suppressed by those who control the flow of information. This is your soul calling you to remember something profound that you once knew but have been programmed to forget. Whether it's morning where you are and you're just beginning your day of awakening, or it's late at night and your consciousness is naturally expanding as the veil between worlds grows thinner. Or perhaps it's that magical twilight hour when ancient mystics would perform their most sacred rituals. The universe has orchestrated this exact moment for you to receive what might be the most life-changing knowledge you'll ever encounter. You see, they've told you that life begins at conception, that consciousness emerges from brain activity, that you are nothing more than a biological machine that randomly developed awareness through evolutionary processes. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie ever perpetuated upon humanity? What if the moment your soul enters your body isn't random at all, but follows exact ancient laws that mystery schools have guarded for thousands of years, laws so powerful that if everyone knew them, it would completely transform how we understand birth, death, consciousness, and our very purpose for being here. The ancient Tibetans called it Bardo Thodol, the intermediate state between lives, and they mapped out with scientific precision the exact process by which a soul chooses its vessel, timing its entry with cosmic alignments that most people today don't even know exist. The Egyptian mystery schools encoded this knowledge in their temples, the Hermetic traditions preserved it in symbols, the Kabbalists hid it in numerical codes, and indigenous shamans across every continent have maintained oral traditions describing the exact moment when spirit merges with matter, when the infinite becomes finite, when your eternal essence agrees to temporary amnesia for the purpose of growth, learning, and service to the greater cosmic plan. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Modern science is finally catching up to what these ancient masters always knew. Researchers studying near-death experiences have documented cases where souls hover above forming fetuses, making conscious decisions about whether to incarnate, sometimes changing their minds and returning to the spiritual realm, sometimes waiting for specific astrological alignments, sometimes choosing alternative bodies if the original choice doesn't feel right. Dr. Ian Stevenson documented over 3,000 cases of children who remembered choosing their parents before birth, describing in detail the process of soul selection that perfectly matches ancient texts that were supposedly primitive superstition. Quantum physicists are discovering that consciousness appears to exist independently of physical matter, that it can influence matter at the subatomic level, and that what we call birth might actually be more like tuning into a frequency that allows infinite consciousness to operate through a specific biological instrument. The implications are staggering. If your soul chose this exact body, these exact parents, this exact time in history, this exact set of challenges and opportunities, then nothing about your life is random. Everything is purposeful, and you are far more powerful than you've ever been taught to believe. Let me take you on a journey through the exact process that ancient masters described, starting with what happens in the spiritual realm before incarnation even becomes a possibility. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, souls exist in what they call the clear light state after physical death, a realm of pure consciousness where linear time doesn't exist, where all knowledge is available, where souls can review their past incarnations and plan their next one with the wisdom of expanded awareness. But here's the secret they don't want you knowing. Not every soul immediately reincarnates. Many spend what could be hundreds of Earth years in this state, learning, growing, healing from traumas of previous lives, working with spiritual guides and master teachers to prepare for their next mission. The ancient texts describe soul councils, groups of highly evolved beings who help souls choose their next incarnation based on karmic debts to be resolved, lessons to be learned, and service to be rendered to humanity's collective evolution. These aren't arbitrary decisions made by some external authority. You, as an eternal soul, participate in this planning process, choosing your parents, your birth circumstances, your major life challenges, even your physical appearance and natural talents, all designed to create the perfect learning environment for your soul's growth. The Vedic texts call this prarabdha karma, the specific portion of your total karmic debt that you've chosen to work through in this particular lifetime, measured out with mathematical precision to provide exactly the right amount of challenge without overwhelming your capacity to learn and grow. Now, here's where the ancient knowledge becomes incredibly specific about timing. Your soul doesn't randomly drift into a developing fetus whenever it feels like it. The entry process follows exact cosmic laws that coordinate with astrological alignments, lunar cycles, and what the Egyptians called stellar gateways. Specific moments when the energy between the spiritual and physical realms becomes thin enough for consciousness to cross over. The ancient Chinese understood this so well that they developed an entire system called Ming Shu, destiny calculation, that could predict not just when a soul would enter a body, but what kind of soul it would be based on the cosmic conditions at the moment of incarnation. Traditional Ayurvedic texts describe how different souls enter at different stages of fetal development depending on their level of evolution and their specific mission. Highly evolved souls often wait until the final weeks of pregnancy, choosing to minimize their time in the dense physical realm, while souls with heavy karmic burdens might enter earlier to begin processing their lessons immediately. But the most forbidden aspect of this knowledge is that souls have been documented entering bodies at the moment of first breath, not at conception as mainstream science claims, which means that what we call abortion might not be ending a life, but simply giving a soul the opportunity to choose a different incarnation path. A perspective that completely challenges conventional religious and political debates about when life begins. The process itself, as described in the most ancient and banned texts, is absolutely fascinating in its precision and complexity. Picture this: your soul, existing as pure consciousness in dimensions where thought instantly becomes reality, begins to feel what mystics call the gravitational pull of incarnation, as the cosmic timing aligns with your pre-chosen life plan. Ancient Sanskrit texts describe how the soul first creates what they call a subtle body, an energetic template that will guide the physical body's development. And this subtle body contains the blueprint for your personality, your talents, your physical characteristics, even your predisposition towards certain illnesses or spiritual gifts. The Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, explains that the soul approaches incarnation through 3 stages. First, it creates the nefesh, the animating life force that maintains biological functions. Then it adds the ruach, the emotional and intellectual aspects of consciousness, and finally, it integrates the neshama, the highest spiritual awareness that connects you to divine consciousness throughout your lifetime. But here's the absolutely mind-blowing part. Ancient Tibetan masters claim that advanced souls can maintain conscious awareness throughout this entire process, remembering their spiritual existence even after incarnation, which is why some children display wisdom and abilities that seem impossible for their age. What makes this knowledge so dangerous to those who want to keep humanity in spiritual ignorance is that understanding the true process of incarnation reveals that you are not a victim of random circumstances. You are a powerful spiritual being who chose this exact experience for specific reasons related to your soul's evolution. The ancient mystery schools taught that recognizing your soul's deliberate choice to incarnate is the first step toward awakening to your true purpose. But modern educational and religious systems have been designed to make you forget this truth, to make you believe you're powerless, that life just happens to you, that you have no control over your circumstances. The suppression of this knowledge serves those who profit from human suffering, who want people to remain dependent on external authorities for guidance, who fear what might happen if everyone realized they are eternal spiritual beings temporarily wearing physical costumes for the purpose of learning and service. Think about how different your life would be if you knew, with absolute certainty, that your soul chose your parents specifically because they would provide exactly the right combination of love and challenge to help you grow. That you chose your birth location because the cultural and geographical energies there would support your spiritual mission. That you chose your physical body because its specific strengths and limitations would teach you precisely what your soul needs to learn. But let's get into the absolutely forbidden details that will blow your mind about the exact timing mechanisms that govern soul entry. Ancient Vedic astronomy describes something called Brahma Muhurta, specific time periods when the veil between dimensions is thinnest, making soul incarnation most likely to occur successfully. These aren't random moments, but precisely calculated windows based on lunar phases, planetary alignments, and what they called nakshatra, stellar mansions that influence the type of consciousness that can incarnate during specific cosmic conditions. Advanced yogis and spiritual masters have documented cases where they could predict not just when a soul would enter a developing body, but what kind of soul it would be, what its primary life lessons would be, and what special gifts or challenges it would bring to its incarnation based solely on the cosmic conditions at the moment of soul entry. The most secret teachings reveal that highly evolved souls, what some traditions call bodhisattvas or avatar consciousness, can actually choose to incarnate during rare celestial events that occur only once every few decades or centuries, timing their entry to coincide with humanity's greatest need for spiritual guidance and transformation. Now, here's where this ancient knowledge connects with cutting-edge quantum physics in ways that will completely revolutionize your understanding of reality. Scientists studying consciousness have discovered that awareness appears to exist in quantum fields that transcend space and time, fields that can influence matter at the subatomic level through what they call quantum entanglement and observer effect. This means that consciousness, your soul, isn't produced by your brain, but rather uses your brain as an instrument, like a radio tuning into a specific frequency of infinite awareness. Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose have proposed that consciousness operates through quantum processes in microtubules within brain cells, processes that could theoretically connect to quantum fields existing outside of physical space-time. Exactly what ancient masters described when they talked about souls existing in spiritual dimensions before choosing to incarnate. Their research suggests that what we call birth is actually more like a quantum entanglement event where infinite consciousness becomes focused through a specific biological instrument, maintaining its connection to universal awareness while operating within the limitations of physical matter. The implications of this are absolutely staggering when you consider what it means for your daily life and your understanding of your own power and purpose. If your soul consciously chose this incarnation, then every major challenge you face isn't a punishment or random misfortune. It's a carefully selected learning opportunity designed to help your consciousness evolve. The ancient Stoics understood this principle when they taught that everything that happens to you is exactly what you need for your growth. But they were building on even older wisdom traditions that new souls choose their incarnation circumstances with the precision of a master artist, selecting exactly the right colors and canvas for their masterpiece. This means that your greatest struggles aren't obstacles to overcome, but curriculum to master. Your most difficult relationships aren't mistakes to escape, but karmic contracts to fulfill. Your deepest fears aren't weaknesses to hide, but shadow aspects to integrate and heal. When you truly understand that your soul chose this exact experience, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious participant in your own evolution, working with the flow of your pre-chosen life plan rather than fighting against it. But here's the most profound and forbidden aspect of this ancient knowledge that connects everything together in a way that will completely transform how you see yourself and your purpose. The moment your soul enters your body isn't just about beginning this lifetime. It's about remembering your connection to all your lifetimes, your eternal nature, and your role in the cosmic plan for human evolution. Ancient mystery schools taught that the ultimate goal of incarnation isn't to suffer and learn through trial and error, but to gradually awaken to your true identity as an eternal spiritual being having a temporary physical experience, eventually reaching a state of consciousness where you can remember your soul's purpose while still operating in the physical world. They called this state by different names: Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, self-realization, union with the divine. But they all describe the same phenomenon: a human being who has awakened to their true spiritual identity while still maintaining their physical incarnation, serving as a bridge between heaven and earth, between the spiritual and material realms. The ancient texts reveal that humanity is currently in the middle of a mass awakening event, a cosmic cycle where unprecedented numbers of highly evolved souls are choosing to incarnate simultaneously to help guide our species through a spiritual evolution that will fundamentally transform life on Earth. The timing isn't coincidental. These souls are entering physical bodies now because this is the exact moment in human history when the conditions are right for a collective awakening to our true spiritual nature. So as we conclude this journey into the most forbidden knowledge about the exact moment your soul enters your body, and why this timing is so precisely orchestrated according to cosmic law and spiritual purpose, I want you to pause for a moment and feel the profound truth of what you've just learned resonating in your heart. You chose this exact lifetime, with all its joys and challenges, because your soul knew it was the perfect vehicle for your continued evolution and your service to humanity's awakening. Every breath you take is sacred. Every heartbeat is purposeful. Every thought and action ripples through the collective consciousness of our species, contributing to the greatest transformation in human history. You are exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be here, with exactly the right experiences and relationships to fulfill your soul's magnificent purpose. Trust the process, embrace your journey, and remember, you are so much more powerful and important than you've ever been taught to believe.